Okay, so this is Hypertext hierarchy, and for our second project, we are doing a Jeopardy game using HTML, CSS, and PHP. And statement of the problem for our second project, we have decided to implement a Jeopardy game based on the TV show. And a little bit about Jeopardy. It was created in the 1960s by TV host Merv Griffin, and it first aired in 1964 till 1965, hosted by Art Fleming. And Alex Trebek is the current host of the show, starting from 1984 till 2020. And some of the general requirements we had for our project was as far as inputs go, we wanted a sign up and login info page, as well as answers to the questions. And for the outputs, we also wanted to know whether our input for the input to the answers, whether our answer to the questions was correct or incorrect, as well as a score to kind of keep track of our progress. So for our solution, we decided to make an intro page, a sign up page, a login page, logout page, as well as a game board page. And we used a Jeopardy game board as the background to kind of mimic the look of our game show. And for our game board, we used grids with the questions, and each row featured a different topic to choose from. Also, each grid contained a question related to the topic of the row.
Okay, for my approach to login and registration, I stored the user credentials in a text document since we aren't using a database. And to authenticate a user, I parse the account's text file and store the username and password in an associative array for a comparison with the username and password entered by the user. If authentication is a success, then the username and password is stored in or saved in the session data, and the user is then redirected to the game board. If authentication fails, a message will be displayed at the top saying invalid login details. When a user is logging in, they will have an option to check the Remember Me checkbox, and that will store the username and password in a cookie to be used the next time the user tries to log in on the same device. For form validation, I had it check whether or not the username or password fields were empty and if there was already an existing username in the text file. Next. So this is the logout page. It'll just destroy the session and redirect the user to the index.php. And this is the screen the user will see after they successfully sign up. Next.
Okay, so for the game board, I use grids with data rows and data columns in order to house the information as far as the categories, the value of the money value, the questions, as well as the answers. I created the CSS to make the board look like the classic Jeopardy board in the game, as well as making sure that the number values were different than the category values by making them yellow. Stephanie worked on the PHP, which she'll talk about now.
So how I did the questions is when you click on the money or the grid, it forwards you to the PHP page. And so I used if and else statements to check if the form statement is set so that it would check whether or not the answer is correct after you enter in the question answer. And then I also use cookies to tabulate the score. And then next.
Okay, so for the questions, I picked all the questions based off of things that we've already learned so far in web programming. They all are based on the categories, which are tables, image maps, forms, CSS, and multimedia. And Steph also worked on the PHP for the questions as far as the answers.
So for testing, Daniel was in charge of the user testing and ran frequent functionality and usability tests. And one of the bugs that came across while doing some testing was here you can see that the login name is not appearing, and this was fixed shortly after I found out about this problem. For teamwork, James Nguyen is our team leader for this project, and he was in charge of the Jeopardy login and logout page, login account info, sign up and registration and welcome page, Jeopardy game board PHP, and the index page. Daniel Thomas was in charge of the PowerPoint presentation. Stephanie Rimmel was in charge of PHP for questions. And Alexandria Lightning was in charge of Jeopardy questions and answers, as well as Jeopardy game board, HTML, and CSS. Stay tuned for the demo.
You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So first I'm gonna do the login, and I'm gonna pretend like I don't have an account. So let's say I wanted to first show you what happens if you make a new account. So there's the create, and then after you create it, it sends you to this page, and then you can go back to the login. And then I want to show you if you enter a incorrect username and password, it does not work. So, and then if you enter in the correct username and password, it authenticates, and then you are redirected to this game board. So it shows that your score is 0. So I'll just go to this one. And what are two attributes to define how far rows reach in a table? So the answer is row span. So I'm going to submit, and it's correct. And I have 500 for score now. So next I'll just do tables for 100. So I'll do table tab. The correct one. Then the score updates. So 500 plus 100 is 600. And let me just show you one and do it incorrectly. Oops. I'll just put in the wrong one. And then, okay, it's done. And then you can log out. And then it takes you back to this one.
Okay, James, you want to talk more about the login as far as things?
For create an account, can you go to create an account real quick? So if you leave the fields empty, just try to create. It'll give you an error saying, oh, you left some fields empty. Let's go back again. And if you try to sign up with a username that already exists, so Steph, yeah. No, actually just create an account again, and then just click create. Oh, this username you have chosen already exists. Please try again. And that's about it for the login registration.
Also, you could tell them about the font.
Oh, this is some cool font I found online that mimics the Jeopardy font. That's about it. Unless you want to do the remember me stuff, Go back to the sign in. If you uncheck the box, log in, and then log out. Log in. Oh, well, it should have destroyed the cookies, but I guess it's not working right now.